Good morning. I just need to say thank you, choir. That was a very touching song. Honor God. Thank you for that. God bless you for your diligence and your work. That you put into practicing and blessing us each Sunday. We don't tell you enough, but we are grateful. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, dear. Do I have this on the for you, Timmy, from the passage in 2 Samuel? Okay, let's put that on the board. I'm going to read this, and then we'll begin. Remain in your seat for this. And so the Lord sent Nathan the prophet to tell David this story. There were two men in a certain town. One was rich and one was poor. The rich man owned a great many sheep and cattle, and the poor man owned nothing but one little lamb he had bought. He raised that little lamb, and it grew up with his children. It ate from the man's own plate and drank from his cup. He cuddled it in his arms like a baby daughter. And one day a guest arrived at the house of the rich man, but instead of killing an animal from his own flock or herd, he took the poor man's lamb and killed it and prepared it for his guest. David was furious. As surely as the Lord lives, he vowed, any man who would do such a thing deserves to die. He must repay 4 lambs to the poor man for the one he stole and for having no pity. Then Nathan said to David, you are that man. The Lord, the God of Israel, says, I anointed you king of Israel and saved you from the power of Saul. I gave you your master's house and his wives and the kingdom of Israel and Judah. And if that had not been enough, I would have given you much, much more. Why then have you despised the word of the Lord and done this horrible deed? For you have murdered Uriah the Hittite with the sword of the Ammonites and stolen his wife. From this time on, your family will live by the sword because you have despised me by taking Uriah's wife to be your own. Let's pray. God, I pray your word will sink itself within our hearts today as we understand what it is that you would have us to know and our judgmental attitudes towards so many others. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Let me just ask you this, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to address you that way because that's what you are to me, my brothers and sisters. Do you find it so easy to detect a problem in somebody else's life before you see anything in your own? Are you quick to see that there's an issue with your neighbor's life and so quick to point it out and judge, but never ever seeing a deficiency in your own life? As Jesus is going to describe for us in just a few minutes, do you walk around with a plank in your eye while you're trying to pick out dust from other people's eyes? I don't know about you, but I'm about tired of this Luke chapter 6. It's been hard for me. I mean, it's been hard. And if it's not affected you, then, well, I'll leave it at that. It has dealt with me in the harshest ways. Because what it does, it just kind of opens things up and says, Steve, take a look. Take a look at yourself. You think you're somebody. Take a look at what you really are. Because we all have an idea who we really are. We think of ourselves as something special many times. But when we really begin to examine ourselves in the mirror that God gives us to look at, in this book, we begin to see that, whoa, I'm not all that hot. I'm not all that I think I am. I'm praying to God I get out of this Luke 6 soon. It's been direct in my life. It may not be to you, But you should be in my shoes for a week, to have to sit in here and study this thing day after day and hour after hour, and I'm just sitting there weeping, thinking, God, fix me, heal me, help me. And you might be thinking, so, well, our preacher, he's got some problems. Well, I do. But I think I'm in good company. See, this thing is challenging me. I look at it and say, well, I'm supposed to be happy if I'm poor. I'm supposed to be happy if I'm hungry. I'm supposed to love those people that hate me. I'm supposed to be, when a guy takes my jacket or he slaps me in the face, I say, here's the other one, and take my shirt too, because it'll look good with that jacket you just took. This is what we're being taught in Luke. This is the sermon that Jesus is teaching his disciples. And now this morning I got to come here and realize that I'm not supposed to be judgmental. We're all judgmental. We're all judgmental. I'm not supposed to be judgmental. I was thinking about earlier this week, you think about the conversations you had last night with whoever you were with, your family, your friends, or whatever. Just think about it, just for a minute. Just think about it. And I wonder if we took out of the conversation the things that we talked about other people, we probably didn't have anything to say. We would just sit and look at each other. I want to say something, but I'm told not to. See, Jesus begins with all this portion of the sermon. When he's talking about it, we've got to realize that it stems around this verse in Luke 6:36. It says, be merciful just as your Father is merciful. And this would have been a summary statement. People would have been saying, well, all this stuff you've been talking about, Jesus, what does that mean? Well, he said, be merciful as your Father in heaven is merciful. That's what he would have said. And if he just backed up a little bit more, he would have been saying, love your enemies. And when we do this, then our reward will be great. And he says that the Lord is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. And when you're kind to the ungrateful and the wicked, you resemble Him. You hear what I'm saying? That I'll be like Him, that I'll look like Him. A lot of people say that Kenzie looks like Kim. And she does. She looks a lot like Kim, especially if you were to look back at Kim when she was just a few years younger. And she just looks like her. She doesn't act so much like her. She acts more like her dad, don't she, Kim? But it's because she's so sweet. And but people say, yeah, she looks like her mom. She looks just like your mom. You ever sit around people, say, you're so-and-so's son, aren't you? Yeah, I am. Yeah, you ever done that with other people, Yeah, you look like so-and-so. Yeah, it's because they're our family. We are to resemble our parents, are we not, How many of you, when people come up to you and they see your life, you look like your daddy, God? You resemble Him. You act just like Jesus. Yeah, people do that to you? Because that's what they're supposed to do. We're supposed to resemble our parent. We're supposed to look like our Father. How are they going to do it, man? Well, he tells us in just a minute. People say when you look like your dad, you love your neighbors, don't you? When you look like your father, you're generous to the people that are around you that are in need. And somebody's going to say, how do I do that? Well, here's how he sees. Because Jesus already knows what you're going to ask. So how do I do that? He says, okay, let's go to Luke chapter 6. And where am I at? Luke 6. Luke 6, and I am going to read when I get to Luke 6. 37, verse through 42. I'm going to read all of this, and then we're going to come back and we're going to work through it, okay? All right. Do not judge. I got the giant print Bible, and the print is getting littler for some reason. I must have got it in the wash, and it's shrinking. All right, 37 through. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. He also told them this parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? A student is not above his teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like his teacher. Why do you look at a speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First, take the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. That verse 37, do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. A little bit of verse 38. You can put them both up there if you want to, Timmy. Give, and it will be given to you. Now, we're going to see quickly in this passage that there are two negative commands and two positive commands. Two negatives and two positive. And I love the way that Jesus teaches. He just doesn't tell you what not to do. He tells you what to do. What's he saying? There's a better way. There's a better way. There's a better way than the way that you've been doing. There's a better way to live your life and conduct yourself than what you've been doing, than what you think is the normal. There's a better way. And he shows a better way. Don't judge, don't condemn, forgive, and give. Be generous. Okay, Steve, that should be enough for today. We're good. Let's go home and let us think on this a little bit, and we'll plan our life this week around what you've told us, right? Would you like to be dismissed? Well, it ain't going to happen. Because I got a few more things to say about this subject. The most misused verse in the Bible is this one here. Judge not, lest you be judged. I love that one. I love it in the King James because I like the word lest. I'm trying to put it in my vocabulary more and more often in the things I say. Lest you not do this anymore, Robin. Lest you do this, Bob. Lest. I'm talking about people that have never picked up a Bible, know this one by heart, and they know the King James Version for some reason. Judge not, lest you be judged. Judge not, lest you be judged. I'm telling you, there's some Bible scholars out there that have never read the Bible. And what it is they use that to protect themselves. You know, so you won't criticize them in any kind of way. I want to live this way. Judge not. Judge not. Judge not. I like living with my partner. I don't feel like I need to be married, and you shouldn't be judging me for that. Judge not. Judge not. I like to drink and have a good time and party on Saturday night, so you shouldn't judge me on that. Judge not. Judge not. People have even taken this verse to the extreme that there should be no judgment in courts. I read one time that there was a juror that had listened to this court case, and it was a hung jury because one of the jurors in there says, I can't judge this. But it was obvious that the person had done something wrong. They were guilty. And the juror said, I can't judge them lest I be judged. I'm no better than they are, so I can't pass judgment. In order for us to understand this, this passage, I guess we need to know what Jesus meant when he said by the word judge. We need to understand what that is. Jesus is not condemning, he's not condemning the administration of justice. And this is not about the institution of law. This is about relationships. This whole thing about judgment. And at the time, Jesus, is not telling us not to judge. That's why he just said, no, we need to understand what he's saying. There are just too many places in the New Testament that teaches us that we need to correct our brothers and sisters when they're sinning, when they're doing things wrong. There's just too many places in the Bible that says that. I'm going to read some. Just bear with me on this because I just believe that Scripture teaches the Scripture better than anything else. Matthew 18, 15, 17. If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault. Whoa, wait a minute. He just said not to judge nobody. Go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take two brothers along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of the two or three witnesses. And he goes on from that. We understand this is church discipline. Galatians 6:1. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are, listen to me, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. 1 Timothy 5:20 says, as for those who persist in sin, rebuke them in the presence of all, so that the rest may stand in fear. John 7:24, do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment. 1 Corinthians 5:11-13, but now I am writing to you not as an associate, not to associate with anyone who bears the name of brother if he is guilty of sexual immorality or greed or is an adulterer or rival or a drunkard or a swindler, not even to eat with such a one. He's talking about Christians now. He's talking about brothers and sisters. He's not talking about the world. What I have to do with judging outsiders? What have you got to do with judging outsiders? Nothing. That's God's job. Is it not those inside the church whom you are to judge? God judges those outside. Purge the evil person from among you. Wow, man, I would like to hear that stuff. So if we say that judging has a lot of people thinking, we need to throw up a big portion of this book out. And I'm not going to do that. So what is the purpose of the church? Why we're here? We're to correct each other. We're to help each other. We're to love each other. We do this by showing tenderness. So Jesus' teaching is that we are to be able to judge from what is right and wrong, to be able to do that. So if this is true, then just what is Jesus trying to say? That we should not judge unless we be judged. Listen to me. Jesus is saying that we should not possess a judgmental attitude towards other people. That's what he's talking about. A condemning attitude towards those that are our brothers, and especially those that don't even know the Lord. It is a self-centered, self-righteous, self-exalting, hypocritical, harsh judgmentalism towards other people. That's what he's talking about, not to judge. These are the type of people. These are the type of people that seek out faults in other people and find delight when they see them in your life. You know any people like that? Are you any people like that? This is not descriptive of someone that's merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Are you with me this morning? No one asleep? Because I can't see in the back. If you guys are shut, I can't see back there. You guys up close, I got my eyes on you. Let me tell you, friends, this is an angry person that's always looking for an opportunity to judge, and not only judge, but also to condemn. This is who he's talking about. He's talking to Christian brothers and sisters, disciples. Remember the story we read just a little while ago about David? He quickly passed judgment on the guy that took the man's lamb, didn't he? He was quick to see that, but man, I can't see the stuff in my own life. He had a man killed, stole his wife. And he's upset because somebody's lamb got killed? Wow. I can tell you this morning, friends, we are judgmental people. We are. And you don't want to hear it, that's okay, but that's the truth. I'm just telling it like it is. We have an attitude of always looking for flaws in people's lives. It's a rare occurrence when we look at someone and we just don't see problems with them. You think of your conversations that you have now, seriously. We quick to see the defects in other people's lives. And I know it because I'm guilty of it. I hate it about myself. And my judgment is in that I'm comparing other people with me. Because why? I should be the standard, right? Isn't that right? No amens. That's what we do. We look at other people and say, I'm the standard by which the judgment should take place. If you're not a good daddy, and the reason you're not is because you're not like me. If you're having trouble in your marriage, and the reason it is because you're not a good husband like me. You know, if you're not a good church member or a hard worker in your community, it's because you're not like me. That's where our judgment comes from. It compares to ourselves. Let me just tell you this, friends. If you haven't walked into other person's shoes, I'm just telling you, you've not walked in the other person's shoes long enough to make some of those types of judgments. If you want to make a judgment in that, you need to learn a little bit more about the person that you're judging. You need to go through the things they've gone through. You need to understand where they came from, where their background is, where their family is, what their situation is in life, before you start casting judgment on people. Forgive and it will be forgiven. Give and you will be given. I ain't going to sing a song, and I was going to. Try a little kindness. Man, I love that Glenn Campbell song, but I've gotten picked on about Glenn Campbell. Where's my girl at? Kathy? I see you pointing. If you see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seeds he sowed, and if you see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say you're going the wrong way. You got to try a little kindness, right, Kathy? Amen. If we simply spend a little more time in forgiving people around us and being a little more generous for the people that are in need, I think you'd soon find out you don't have time to judge other people. You don't have time to spend and getting your nose into other people's lives. You don't have the time to do that. I was listening to a pastor Friday in New Bern. I was on a podcast. I was listening to it on my phone, and there's this pastor in New Bern, and there's a friend of mine at work that I used to work with because I'm retired, but I used to work with, told me about this pastor. I was there in New Bern. He said he's a real popular guy. Lots of people go listen to him preach. But he said his wife goes there and really likes it. He said, but he went, and he said he couldn't stand it because all the guy did was talk about money. So all he did was talk about money. So I turned it on. Just click one at random. Click one of the sermons at random. And I'm talking about the whole time, half an hour I listened to him, half an hour. I couldn't stand it no more. He talked about how much money he made, how much money he had, how much money he was going to make. He was talking about how the church needed to give more so that he could have more money. I was almost sick to my stomach listening to him. And I knew it. I knew what he was going to do. I said, he's going to go to Luke chapter 6. I knew he was going to do it. I said, just give him time. He's going to come to that passage. And sure enough, he said, give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. I knew he was going to do that. Every prosperity preacher that I know uses that verse, and you've just listened to me long enough to hear what Jesus is saying, and he's not talking about money at all. Rather, he says, you should be happy being poor. You should be happy without. I'm telling you, preachers, you need to wake up. This is crazy to abuse this holy word to make the point that you want to make and for the agenda that you want to bring it to. Preach God's word for what it is. Come here. Luann, would you help me? Would you help me do something? Okay, come here. Hang on. Come here. It's not scary. Yeah, come on. Yeah. I need you to sit in that chair for me. Can you do that?
Bless you.
Well, I'm blessing your heart. I want you to sit right here. Sit right there. Just face everybody out that way. Okay, good. All right. All right, let me get my stuff here. Yeah, all right, there you go. All right, you good? All right, good. I don't want you spilling none of this because Miss Kim and I will eat it for supper. All right. How many of you love butter beans? We do too. We do too. All right. Now this is what the people understood. Right away, they understood what he was talking about. When it was to be pressed down, shaken down, stirred, and all this stuff, and get it in there. And they understood this. So when they went to market and bought some corn or some beans or whatever it was, the merchant that would put them in there, he would put that in there, and he said, okay, all right, let's get that, let's shake that down, let's get as much as we can get in there. Yeah. You got it, Luann. All right, then we're going to put some more in there. We're going to shake it again. Let's shake it a little bit more, okay? Yeah, we got it. And so, all right, we got this here. Now, listen, Mama, push it down here. Got to get every spot in here, okay? You got it? You don't lose none. And then he would mound it up. He would mound it up. And then he would, this is what he would do. This is what he would do. He'd get a little hole in there, and he'd press it in and press it in some more, and then it would just be overflowing. That's a good serving, isn't it, girl? Could you eat that many beans? That many beans will make a pot about that big. That's one of the things I first learned in cooking beans. I thought, well, that's about how many beans will be in the pot. No. Them boys get big, don't they? This is what it looks like to be in abundance, to have it running over. Your blessings. You want to give to somebody, that's what the Lord is going to do. He's going to overflow you with it. People around you are going to do that. Now, I'm going to tell you this, the opposite of that. I love you, dear. If you want to be judgmental of people, that's what's going to happen also. That judgmental, that type of attitude is going to overflow in your life. Which should you rather have? There's this ice cream place that Kim and I like to go at Emerald Isle. Excuse me, the sweet shop. Have you ever been there? We like it there. Now, here's what the ice cream guy does there. You're okay, aren't you? Hang on. I'm about done with you. You go in there and get your ice cream cone. Now, he'll take that. I want 2 scoops. Right? First scoop he does, he takes it and he puts it in my cone and he pushes it down in there. He pushes that ice cream all the way to the bottom. Because when I eat my ice cream, I don't want to just eat some cone. I get the last bite. The last bite, I got ice cream in my mouth. So he pushes that down in there. And then for 2 scoops, I'm talking about his scoopers like that. And that ice cream is like boom. And he puts that first one in there. And then he puts that next one in there. He pushes it all in there. Now that's a good ice cream cone. That's more than I deserve. That's more than I should eat. But that's what abundance is when God gives it to you in that way. Luann loves us. Thank you. Let's give Luann a hand for helping us out here. And Pastor Steve will clean all that up when service is over. Thank you, sweetie. You can go back to your mom.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sweetie.
I love you.
Love you. We're going to have beans tonight. Thank you, sweetheart. If we're forgiven to people that have wronged us, then we're going to receive forgiveness in abundance. If you're charitable to people, even if you don't think maybe they deserve being charitable to, you're going to receive in abundance. But I'm telling you, friends, at the same time, if you're judgmental and you're harsh and you're condemning, that same abundance, that same condemnation is going to be seen in your own life. Keep playing the judgment game, friends. I'm going to tell you, you're going to be judged in the same manner. Just telling you like it is. Okay, so now he shares an example with a parable, right? So when we read this, we can understand why it's so critical, of those that take the Scripture and expound on them and use them for their own agendas. We'll see that because it's obvious that that's not what he's talking about, right? It's obvious that that's not what he's talking about. Verse 39, and he also told them in this parable, can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? When we see this, it's almost like a ridiculous statement. He's not making fun of blind people. He's not doing that at all. But this is a ridiculous statement. See, you've got a blind guy going up to a busy intersection crossing. And he starts to head out, and somebody grabs him by the hand and says, no, hang on just a minute. Let me help you across also. And he gets his white cane, and he starts heading him out also. A blind man leading another man across the street is going to be disastrous. That's what's going to happen. If you want instructions from another person, you need to make sure that person's got 20/20 vision. You want them to be able to see well. And I think he was talking about the Pharisees. I believe he's speaking that. He claimed the Pharisees always claimed to be the overseers, those that had put themselves in front of people to teach them what was right. If you look back in chapter 6, verse 7, it says, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law were looking. They were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus so that they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath. They thought they had perfect vision and they couldn't see nothing. They didn't understand anything. If a person is to lead, if a person is to give instruction, if a person is to be an example, then that person had better be understanding about what it is that he's teaching. If the blind lead the blind, they're going to both fall in the pit. These folks in Palestine understood that. There were pits everywhere. There were holes everywhere. People fell in them all the time. How much damage is done when a person that claims to be a leader, the guide, teaches falsely? How much damage is done over a period of time, over years, over a lifetime? Can you imagine? Because there's many of us that have been taught something for a long, long time, and it's been wrong. And if a person listens to his or her teaching, and that philosophy, they're going to be indoctrinated. I'm going to say something to you parents. You send your kids off to school every day. You need to be asking them what they were taught each day. You need to ask them that, especially concerning science. Because if you don't get involved in their teaching and learning at school, they're going to believe what they are taught. Because here's what they're taught, moms and dads, if you've not been asking to them. They're going to be taught that the universe is billions and billions of years old, and that at some point something happened in some pond full of goo, that some little single-cell organism came out of that and eventually crawled up on shore and eventually grew legs and arms and swung into trees for a while and then became us. That's what they're being taught. And if you don't say something to them, and if you don't act on it, you're going to be letting these false teachers, the blind lead the blind right into a pit. And your kids, if they're not instructed otherwise, they will believe it. And there's a lot of churches the same way today, friends. They teach things that make you feel good, and they never challenge you to live differently because God's just happy with you like you are. You don't need to change. You don't need to do nothing. You don't need to look like your father. You don't need to produce fruit. You don't need to be a light. Or they teach that you should never be sick, and you should always be prosperous, and you have plenty of money, and you should have nice cars and trucks and boats and houses like me. Blind fools leading people into pits, leading people to hell. I want you to read Matthew chapter 23, not now, but you read it this afternoon. I'm going to just read a portion of it. Matthew 23, 13 and 15. You think I'm not telling the truth? Listen to me. Woe to you teachers of the law and Pharisees. What does he say? You hypocrites. Preachers shouldn't call people hypocrites, should they? Well, Jesus did. Greatest preacher ever lived. You shut the kingdom of heaven in men's faces. You yourselves do not enter. He's talking about they're not going to heaven. Nor will you let those enter who are trying to. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You travel over the land and sea to win one single convert, and when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as you are. You think Jesus is serious about that? 1 John 4:1. 1 John 4, dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. 2 Corinthians 11, 13, 15. For such men are false apostles, deceitful workers, disguising themselves as apostles of the Messiah, and no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Therefore, it's not surprising if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their deeds. Matthew 7:15, beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. Is he serious about this? Enough said. So if you're blind, don't lead nobody. And if you're blind, also make sure the person that's leading you got good vision. Okay? Verse 40, student is not above his teacher, but everyone who's fully trained will be like his teacher. And I just briefly, if a teacher's teaching false doctrines, then that student's never going to be above whatever he's been taught in that false way of teaching, and that's all he's going to know, and he's never going to be nothing. But if your teacher is Jesus, if you're a student of this word here, then you can also lead. And Jesus kind of drives it home in verse 41, 42. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, brother, it's ridiculous. Let me take the speck out of your eye when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye. You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you can see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Well, you might be saying, Steve, I'm so glad you're preaching this message, because the person sitting next to me sure needs to hear that today. Right? I mean, I love my brother over here, but boy, he needs to hear this message. Oh, man. I'm telling you, this is about, look, let me see. Somebody move my stick. Here. I went out this morning to get a 2x4, and it was too big, and I had to get my saw, so I grabbed it and pulled it out, got my saw out. 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm cutting this thing, and wasp stung me on my hand. But I rebuked the sting, and in the name of Jesus, it's gone. Here's the description. Now, you need to know what a plank is. You need to know what a Greek word is for plank. It is the support beam that holds up a building. That's what he's talking about. Nothing like this. He's talking about a big pillar. I'm talking about a big board, something big. And this is what he's saying. And here's what we do. Is, dear, let me get that out of your eye. You're just a mess. You're just a mess around here. Look, Stevens. Look, come on. You need to straighten up, man. There's just stuff in your life that's just not right. You guys need some help, especially you, Paula. You come here. Let me get it out. Let me get it out. It's not going to hurt. Boink. Is this not crazy? Is it not the most ridiculous thing that you could see or do? Hunting this with that hanging out of your own face. I had a buddy of mine that was stepped out, just been years ago, stepped out of church and stepped out the back of church and lit him a cigarette. Smoked a cigarette, standing in the back of church, smoking a cigarette. Preacher come out there, oh, you spawn of the devil. You are going to hell smoking cigarettes in the church. The preacher, if he didn't weigh 450 pounds, he didn't weigh a pound. You hear what I'm saying? Man, you can't see that? You can't see that you're not healthy? This is the culmination of all that Jesus has been talking about, the judgmental attitude that we have towards other people. That's what he's doing. The condemning nature that we seem to express to people that aren't living like we think they should be living. That when we're blind, we're going to lead others into destruction. Now, simply put, we need to examine our lives and our motives more closely, because when we begin to tell people, other people, about all their errors. You ever been to a party or something, and you're all standing around in a group, and the person's talking, there's a guy in there talking. It's probably somebody like me. He's just talking a lot, and he's got something on his chin, piece of food. You think it's a piece of cake or something, and you're looking at him. He's just talking. He's telling jokes, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and all you can do is look at that thing. And I don't want to say nothing because I don't want to embarrass him, but I can't listen. I'm not even listening to him because all I can see is that piece of cake on his chin. I mean, he's telling all kinds of stuff, and I'm just, yeah. And he finally goes in the bathroom. It's because it could have been you. He finally goes in the bathroom, and he washes this. He looks at his face, he goes, ah! He said, I've been in there the whole time, and this cake's been on my face, And now he's trying to find a way out the back door because he don't want to walk back in there, and everybody laugh at him. But that's what we do. See, the man with the cake on his face don't know the cake's on his face. And the man with the plank hanging out of his head don't know that there's a plank out of his head. And the reason they don't spend enough time in the mirror. They don't spend enough time checking themselves out before they're trying to check you out. Lord, get me out of chapter 6. I'm telling you, before we start telling other people how they need to act, we need to learn to act. 2 Peter 1, 10, 11, therefore, my brothers, be all the more eager to make your calling and election sure. Amen? For if you do these things, you will never fall. Kim's favorite book in the Bible is James. James 1, 22, 25. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like the man who looks in his face in the mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looked like. You feel like you need to correct your brother? And let it begin with you. You remember the old hymn, Standing in the Need of Prayer? And you folks remember that old song? You know, not my brother, not my father, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's not me, oh Lord. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's not my preacher, it's not my deacon, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's not my brother, it's not my sister, but it's me. It's not the thief, not the liar, but it's me, oh Lord, that's standing in the need of prayer. Now, when we're to instruct and we're to help other brothers and sisters when they stumble, there's a process. First, deal with the plank, then deal with the twig. Deal with the plank, and deal with the twig. And if you don't, you're going to be like the blind guides, and you're going to be leading people into holes left and right. You're going to be like the Pharisees that will never lead their students into anything more than a false prophet or false teacher. That's all you'll ever lead them to be. Deal with the plank. Title of the message, get the plank out. I don't know if you even seen that up there. Get the plank out. Before you begin to set out and reform those around you, listen to me, make sure you're reformed. Before you begin to be a teacher, make sure that you've been taught. Before you decide that you want to become an ophthalmologist, make sure you got 20/20 vision first. Don't get a prescription for glasses from somebody that can't read the chart themselves, okay? Jesus is saying, learn to be as critical of yourself as you are of others. And to be as generous to others as you would like them to be to you. And then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. 6 verses. Boy, wonder what the next 6 will be like. Wonder when we're going to get through with Luke. I don't know about you, but this has been informative to me. And what else can I say to you this morning? You probably say, well, you said enough. You usually do. Maybe so. Let's just end with this thought, I guess. Are we supposed to judge our brothers and sisters? Yeah. In love, in generosity. Are we to be judgmental of our brothers and sisters? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We are not to be blind guides, but guides that have examined our own lives and seen ourselves with the same deficiencies in our lives as our brothers and sisters, but we've learned a lesson through God's Word, through the washing of His Word in our lives. And so, before I begin to so uncompassionately try to remove the specks that I and everybody else's eyes that are around me, I need to take a good look at my own life. I need to spend some time in front of the mirror, make sure I don't have no cake on my face before I start telling you about the cake that's on your face. Jesus is saying there's a better way. Tony, I love you, brother. You know, I've had some stuff happen in my life that's been bad. I had somebody come to me one time and point some things out to me, and I didn't like it to start with. But I thanked them later for it because it changed everything. And because somebody cared about me, I care about you. There's some things I want to talk to you about. Things that are going on in your life. I'm saved by God's grace and no other thing. And I'm not perfect. I'm a mess, actually. But I love you, brother. And I don't want to see you head down the wrong path. Does that make sense? Isn't that a lot better than me just coming up to you and saying, man, you are messed up. And if you don't straighten up, bad things are going to happen to you, Tony. I know it. That's right. We don't need to share prayer requests with everybody in Albertson, okay? I just encourage you today, if God's Word's dealt with you, it's dealt with me. I want somebody else to preach. It's let you and I be generous in what we do for others. Let us be able to forgive because you've been forgiven so much. And let us love in such a way that we are an example of that forgiveness and that generosity to others to draw other people to Christ. Amen? Get the plank out first, and then you can help your brother and your sister that you love with a little speck that's in their eyes. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you for your word. I thank you for your instruction. I thank you for the not so gentle prodding in my own life. But Lord, I love you. And I love these brothers and sisters that are here. And I pray with all of my heart, Lord, that when we leave these places on Sundays, that people can look at us and say, man, you look like your daddy. You look just like Jesus. Oh, God, that's my prayer for us today. And I'll leave it with that. I pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.